am I? Why have I come here? That's the big question, right? So what am I doing here? So I went to one of Ray's workshops, a 3-day intensive, which was just fantastic. That really started me on the journey about understanding that your thoughts affect your emotions, and that we can actually, by by changing our thoughts, we can actually change our feelings, and by changing our feelings we can change our life. So that was really my first real conscious experience of understanding that process. After that, actually, Ray did something very spectacular for me. I think we had a 15-minute conversation on the phone. I don't know actually how people do this. He must be magical. Actually, maybe it was 20 minutes. Let's not give him too much credit. So he spoke to me a bit more about how the workshop was and got to know me a little bit more. And then he said, I'd like to give you a 6-week, 10-minute meditation. So he gave me 4 very simple lines, and he just nailed it basically around the thing that I needed right then, the thing I needed to say to myself, which was really about I'm already enough, I don't need to do anything else. So I actually didn't do it for 6 weeks, I did it for 6 months. So religiously, I did it actually for 10 minutes every day for 6 months. And it made a huge difference. Obviously I was doing yoga and other things as well, but that was every single morning religiously with a hot water and lemon juice, which I don't think was Ray's idea. I think I might have come up with that myself. And then just did this meditation, which just started for me to create boundaries. I started to say no, and I just started to really believe that I was enough and I didn't need to basically people please. So that was that experience. So I decided to come to Evolve just after that couple of experiences with Ray. My takeaway so far is that basically the quality of your life can be changed. By basically changing your vibration. And you can change your vibration in 2 potentially simple ways. The first way is by changing what you think, and what you think then affects your emotions, and then your emotion basically becomes a positive emotion, and so the life becomes joy. I mean, people think that life has to be suffering. What we've learnt here is that you create your own suffering. So by actually changing our thoughts and changing our emotions, life does not have to be suffering. Life can actually be joy. Every single one of them is unique, I can say, and they've been open, they're loving, they're kind, they're here for the right reasons. Basically, they've all got their own things, their own objectives or goals, and there's some similarities, but basically they are all on a different journey. And I have difficulty expressing my emotions. That's not one of the reasons I'm here, but this is important that I start expressing my emotions and more completely and things. But these women have really supported me, and that you feel that you can let it all out on day 2. That is really an indication of the type of people that come to these workshops, that you can feel comfortable enough to really let it out. I sit there I do listen, but when I'm not for 5 minutes, every time I go, who can I tell about these presenters? I need to tell her about him, and I need to tell him about her, and it just sort of goes on like that. But we've had amazing presenters. Obviously I've had Ray and Antonella before, and they just continue to expand their own knowledge and learning around this stuff. So it's not as if I've heard it all before. I definitely haven't. It's hard to explain Ray and Antonella. People that have basically invested 20 years, 30 years of their lives doing this work. So what can we say about that? And also, it's not just head, it's heart, which is why we're here. We're trying to combine head and heart. So, they're not presenters that basically have they're not having a transactional experience with them. You can sob into their shoulder as well once you've worked out some of the science of quantum physics. So we go from sobbing to quantum physics. Antonella did yesterday, which I could go into it in a lot more detail, but for me, again, all of us had our own, let's say, case study or thing we were working on. And for me, I just had every day I have amazing shifts or changes or epiphanies. But again, I had another one yesterday, understanding that sometimes what looks like challenging people in my life, which I'd like to just have a life of harmony, that's not actually going to serve me, because I wanted to step out more into the world and do bigger and, let's not say better, but bigger things. So if I don't have that disharmony, or those challenges, or those people that, let's call them up or down, or have a bit of chaos in their life, and I'm not interacting with them, then I'm not going to learn those skills that I'm going to need to do because life isn't like this, as we all know. It's like this. So that was amazing. We've also had these amazing people that help with the breath work, and so that was 8 hours of breath work. Let's not pretend that it takes 2 hours to do this work. It doesn't. It took 2 lots of 4 hours. Well, she was an angel and he was a god, something like that. Anyway, and that was just, and they held us. They seemed to know when to come to us, when to leave us, when to support us. The music was amazing. They were like poetry. We just felt well supported. And there was a lot of shifts in people, the beautiful Jackie Lau, oh my goodness gracious me. Beautiful, beautiful Jackie from Hong Kong. She came to tell us about, well, she's a great philosopher, right? So she was doing, strangely, she's a neurologist, but the first part, it was all about relationships and how we relate to each other. And she just had this beautiful way of bringing all these great philosophers into it and just, challenging us about the way that we perceive. I think the takeaway from her, again, this is not doing her justice, is that reframe. When we think someone's done something to us for a reason, or something's happened to us for a reason, be curious and reframe why that may have happened, and you'll often find that it's very, very different. And and she was challenging us as to whether we have some of the attributes that we actually often say others have, So anyway, there's a lot of self-reflection there. Now moving on to the Darren Hay. So he's talking about biogenetics. So that's how the environment, food and nature affects us and can change our vibration. So in addition to our thoughts, we've also got what we put into our bodies and how we interact with the plants and the birds and the bees and things like that. So he's explaining to us how we can change that to, I suppose, change our vibration, change our feelings, just basically change how our body works, because our body is the vessel through which we have to do our spiritual work, and that's also the vessel through which will influence what we think about in our mind and our emotions as well. It's very hard over 8 days of the things that we've experienced to actually say anything that I feel could do justice to the extent of what you've given us, what we've learnt, the energy that we've shifted. Like, I don't actually think I have the vocabulary personally to do you, Antonella, and the people here and the presenters justice. So I'm sorry about that, because there's just been so many takeaways every single day. I have a pad this full of, highlights, and that's another highlight, and that's another highlight. So, it's just been brilliant. And as Ray says, we've just got to keep going on the journey. But life can be different, life can be better, life can be amazing.